It's Friday. I know you guys are stoked, right? I'm super stoked. Not only is it Friday, but it's Veterans Day. So thank you so much to all the veterans out there that have made this country a better place. Dude, thank you so much. Okay, I want to address the mustache in the room. First of all, it's Movember. If you don't have a mustache, you're missing out. Go grow that thing out. Ladies, if you want to grow one, I'm totally cool with it. Go for it. So I'm going to edit some more GFX files today in Lightroom, and I just wanted to show you guys how easy it is to get a really just good look out of these files. If you have an X-T2 as well, this also applies to you. You can easily get the same quality images, maybe not as many pixels and maybe not that sharpness, maybe so. We're shooting on an X-T2 right now. But yeah, you can totally follow along and get a simple look. Today, I'm focusing on headshots. That's what I've kind of been doing lately in the studio. So I want to show you how to get an easy look right in Lightroom. Okay, so I'm going to be using the new Lightroom Classic today. Adobe decided that they wanted to switch things up. There's the new Adobe CC for all the cool kids, and then there's the Adobe Classic for us old people, I guess they're saying, or those of us who use these monstrous desktops. I don't know. I think I'm old, I got gray hair. So a couple of things that I'm using that I wanted to let you guys know of. I actually use the X-Rite checker in the studio. It has a white balance card, and then it also has this color card, which is really great. You can actually create custom profiles right inside of Lightroom, and this makes editing a lot easier, especially getting white balance. If you're not familiar with white balance, get a white balance card. There's cheaper versions on Amazon. I'll put some links below so you can check that out. I'll also link this one. And then I'm also using the Color Monkey display by X-Rite, which I like their ecosystem. It works really, really well for me. I haven't used any other, so if you know any, share that information below. The reason why I use a color checker is so that I'm just getting the most accurate colors I can out of my monitor. Now your monitor is going to be different than mine, so our colors may not match up. That's okay, but when we go to print, all of our colors will be the same if we're using the X-Rite system. So that's what's important about using a calibrated monitor, is more so that everything is the same across print, but it does help. So when we're editing images, sometimes our brains will fill in colors and details and do all kinds of funky things. So using these tools will help eliminate that. Sometimes you have to walk away, go get a Red Bull, go get a water, and come back to your editing station and re-look at your photos. Okay, so let's get started. All right, I know you guys are excited. Some more beards for Movember. It's pretty awesome. All right, so this is shot on the GFX. I used the GF110. I shot at f2. Please don't leave 1,000 comments talking about how narrow the depth of field is, how both eyes aren't in focus. I get it. It's my look. I like it this way. You have a look. You're going to like it your way. This is to help you navigate, get awesome color, make some quick adjustments, and hopefully get some more images published online. That's the idea here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the white balance. What you want to do is you want to go over into the develop module. So in library module, I just want to make a real quick statement here. If you're curating images, it's really, really easy to just use library because it's a lot faster. The previews actually load faster versus if you're looking through images in develop. Once you've selected them, then using develop is fine, or using the develop module is fine, but using the library module is just a quicker way to see your images a lot faster. Just a little tip. If you guys have been wondering why it just takes so long to look through your images, just make sure you're in that library module. All right. So I'm going to go over to develop, and we're going to look at a couple images here. First, we're going to look at this image, and then I think we're going to go here. So I have nice bearded dude, and then super cool hat girl. Let's say that. She is cool. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to start with temperature. This is one of the things that, again, when I was talking about using the X-Rite system, the more that you can get right in the camera, the better. Sometimes it just isn't perfect, but again, color, skin tones is really subjective to the person editing as well. So we're just going to approximate. I'm going to show you kind of what I like and just kind of show you how to use that scale. So if you go over into temp, you're going to see a slider that goes from yellow to blue, and like you guessed, the yellow is warmer, the blue is cooler. So if you drag the slider over, you're going to get a warmer tone, and if you drag it left, you're going to get a cooler tone. So for example, if this was shot at sunset and it was really, really, really warm, I might want to bring it down a little bit cooler. or if in the studio I had a weird light set up and it was really fluorescent, that was really fluorescent. Now he's a blue man. But if it was really blue or cold, you would say, I would warm it back up and bring some of those skin tones. Now, you can't really mess this up. You're editing in a non-destructive editing system, which is amazing. You can always double-click these sliders, too. So kind of like if I bring it all the way blue and I just double-click it, it will give you the default color temperature that it was brought in at. So that's super, super cool. So I'm just going to look at this. I'm actually going to look at his skin really, really close. Again, there's a lot of detail here. And I just kind of want to see what's happening here in the skin. Automatically, I know it's a little red, but I do want to bring a little bit of warmth, like just even it out a little bit. Again, it's really, really red, and we'll talk about that in a second, but that's kind of where I would start. And then I'm going to go into the tint slider. Now, tint, again, is really, for me, I'm going to use it to affect the skin tones. If you slide it left, you're going to be really green. If you slide it right, you're going to go really pink or red. If you double click it, you're going to go back to the default. Because they look his skin looks a little red to me, I would probably pull it over just a touch. And that was really subtle. But when I'm working with these tones, and I'll pull back and make sure I'm kind of where I want to be. But subtlety makes a huge difference, guys. Seriously, makes a huge difference. So be subtle. The third thing I'm going to look at is exposure. So if you look up in your right-hand corner, you have the histogram. And I know for some of you guys, you're like, what is this? It might be hidden. You just use a little drop down and pop right out. But this is basically giving you the shadow and highlight details in these midtones. And if you hover over either one of these, it will show you the information that is basically unrecoverable, or that has just been blown out, or that has been clipped in the shadows or blown out in the highlights. So I can see automatically, and I'll just click this to hold it, that I do have this white kind of blown out, or it's just overexposed. And that doesn't mean that the detail is gone in this case, because it is white. There is no detail there. That's okay. I can just bring this highlight down. See how I did with this highlight slider in this basic menu here. If you pull down highlights, boom, you can just pull that right back down, and you're just nice and even again. Now, again, I'm going to make some adjustments in my exposure, and that's going to bring that back up, but I'm going to play with that. And I'm going to leave both of these on so I know that I'm not losing detail in the highlights or the shadows. So bringing up the exposure a little bit, I just want to give it a little bit more exposure, not too much. And then I'm going to bring that highlight just right back down. See how I did that? So I got a little bit of punch right back out of here where I wanted it. Maybe that's a little bit too far. I can even come down. I think I was a negative 20. Now I'm negative, or I was plus 20, excuse me. Now I'm plus 15. And I'm not blowing anything out. And the shadows are fine, obviously. And I do want to bring a little bit more of black back into this. Again, this is all in this basic module. I'm just going to bring a little bit of the black. If you go left, it's going to darken. If you go right, and you can see that blue coming in. That's just where the detail is lost. That means it's just the detail has been completely clipped. I just want to bring a little bit of black back, but not clip any detail. But I do want it to be a little bit contrast. I want some contrast in this image. That's what I'm looking for here. Okay. Clarity I'm not going to mess with right now. Okay, so this is where Lightroom, this is where it shines for me, where things get easy. Again, when I'm editing images that are going out and have to be published in magazines, or they're for commercial work, or whatever the case may be, I might pull this image into Lightroom, and that's a big might. If it needs it, sometimes they need it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the client's very specific about what they want, especially when you're talking about advertising and skin texture. But here, this is a great just editorial headshot, or just portrait, you can say. It's not so much a headshot that it is a portrait, but I can edit this probably all here in Lightroom and be completely happy. So in this next module, I'm going to collapse some of these. You have this HSL, color in black and white. If you have the HSL clicked in, you're going to see a little target, and you can literally take this target, drag it over the skin tones. But like I said, I felt like these were a little red. Click and hold, and you can drag down, and see how it starts desaturating those colors where he looks sickly death. And then you can drag up, and you can bring all that color back where it's just gross and weird, and you can fine tune it. So when you're adjusting for color, especially in the face, this is the easy way to target those colors in in the skin tones. Again, if you mess up or you feel like you've gone too far, you can double click these sliders and it will bring it right back to default. But again, I'm going to click in here and I'm just going to bring a little bit of that red out. Ta-da! And some of you guys are yelling right now, oh my gosh, that looks really, really, really desaturated. Again, that's my look. This is my style. This is what I like. All of you guys are going to have a different style, and that's totally okay. Just know that that tool is there, and so when you're looking to make simple adjustments, if you shot in an area that was really yellow or there was a cast of a color, that's a really easy way to pull those colors out, just so you know. And that's right here in the HSL. Perfect. So I like that. Again, you can see there's some blue clipping. There's some clipping happening here, but I'm not worried about it. I'm going to go down. So after I adjust my color, and the one thing that we've been talking about is I'm going to go into camera calibration. Now, by default, the profile is going to be set to Adobe standard unless on import you decided something different. What's really, really cool is when you shoot RAW, Fuji allows you to use all these different camera calibrations, which Fuji is known for these camera calibrations, and they're beautiful. You can go into these black and whites with like these filter looks so that you're adjusting the reds and the black and the white, et cetera, et cetera. You can do these really cool the film looks. One of the ones I love the most, and it's going to completely change my image, and then we're going to go back and rechange on those sliders that we talked about, is this classic chrome look. So if you're shooting the GFX, if you're shooting the X-T1 or X-T2, if you're shooting the X100, this is all available to you guys right in Lightroom, all in really one page. It isn't like you're opening up multiple things. Nothing's hidden. Everything is right here in the develop module for you. So you can see it really clipped a lot of my blacks, which was fine. I told you that was going to happen. So I'm going to go back into my blacks, and I'm going to just bring some of that detail back out. But I'm okay with some clipping in those shadows. I don't want to go too far, and I'm going to turn it off so I can see what I'm doing a little bit here. And I'm okay with this. I'm okay with that clipping. Now, again, his skin tone changed a lot. It got a little bit duller, I would say. So I can bring a little bit of that warmth back in if I want, as I just did. And it was subtle. There wasn't a big thing. Now, one of the other things I want to talk about, and a lot of people use this for landscape photography, is this adjustment layer. So you kind of have this gradient adjustment that you can pull, and it's this rectangular square, and you can actually click, drag, and it makes an adjustment, and I'll exaggerate. You kind of see what it's doing. It's just adjusting, it's gradually adjusting across this thing that I pulled. So I noticed it, just back at default, and get rid of some of these things, make sure everything's zeroed out. It's a little dark here, so I can just kind of punch this up so it's not so like the light didn't fall off, and it's perfect. And that's a great way to use that gradient. If you have a dark area and you don't want to sit there and brush, you can just kind of use the gradient to bring some of that back. Again, if you wanted to create a new layer, you just hit new, and say I thought this was too light or too dark, I can bring this across the face, and I can darken it, and you're going to see the temperature change because I have on default. But bring all these back, but I can darken it. It's also darkening this background here, but you can get it right over into the face, and you can kind of see what's happening. Now, what's really, really cool in the new Lightroom, in Classic, for the old guys, you can actually split and actually select color and luminance, where you're not affecting all the different areas of the photograph, but you're only affecting the areas you want to affect. So it's a really cool feature. I haven't dove too deep into it because I had no use for it, but it's there if you need it. But this gradient is just a really great tool to give you or change the look that you want in your photo. So again, I'm going to delete that. I didn't want that. But if you do want it, it's there. Perfect. So I'm going to go back. I am going to bring this. Oh, sorry, I went back in the library. I'm going to go back into Develop Module. And I'm going to change the crop on this a little bit. And I'm going to bring it in a tad. Again, I'll show you exactly what I just did. What's great, if you don't like it, if you hate it, you just Command Z on your keyboard if you're using a Mac. and you can just completely go backwards. You're not ruining anything, or you can open this back up and adjust it out. But I'm just going to bring it into here and just bring the image in a little bit. And I'm liking that. I like that. And I'm liking that more. Do I want to chop into his hair? And this is where you play. This is where you get exactly what you want. And I felt like I went a little too far here. That's okay. I kind of like it in there. And that's perfect for me. Okay, good. I'm kind of getting this blown out looking. You can see it's still clipped there. That's okay. I'm going to unclip it. I'm going to pull it back. Just look at it. I'm going to look in these. Perfect. Okay. So all I did was I'm looking at the whites, just making sure there's nothing weird in those areas, that I'm okay with it. And that's why we have a calibrated screen, so that we can look and that we can make those adjustments. Okay. So one of the last things I'm going to do is I'm going to create in this little area, I'm going to take this adjustment brush, the little thing that looks like the Harry Potter wand, and I'm going to make it small. And actually, first I'm going to do this. I'm going to go plus. You can actually hit Command +2 and it'll zoom in. For some reason, when I do that, it messes up with my screen capture software, so that's why I did it the way that I did it. But I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to brush a little bit of pop into the eyes. You don't have to. If you love the catch lights in his eyes, if you love what you got, don't change it. There's no need to, but you can see what's happening here. I'll make it really extreme there. You can see I can make them really dark. We're not turning them into an alien. I just want a little bit of pop. And then I'm also going to create another. You just hit new. I'm going to do another one. Ooh, I just noticed something. You can actually go back to the dot if you click it. The sharpness was super turned up. So I'm going to bring that back to there. Ooh, perfect. I'm going to go new. And I'm going to paint into the eyes. It's a little bit small, but that's okay. I'm just making just into the whites of the eyes, just a tad. I can look at this adjustment. You can kind of see what I did, so I'm going to get it a little bit more right. And you obviously make this, you can make this super perfect, but all I'm going to do is bring a little bit back into there. Perfect. That wasn't the best adjustment ever, but you get the point. And as simple as that. So now you have the eyes a little punchier, you have the whites, and now that I pull back, I don't love it as much as I did, which is what happens. So you can just kind of pull it away. And you can go to the other one and pull it if you want to, but you can see the difference. Get really bright. Okay. There we go. I might make one more adjustment layer here, just new. And just kind of bring some highlight into his hair. You can if you want. You don't have to. It's totally up to you. Again, it's your image. It's your creativity. Do what you feel like you want to do with it. This isn't exactly how you do it, obviously. And there's going to be 1,000 different ways to do this. But if you're working with the X-T2, if you're working with the GFX, if you're working with an X100, this is great. So you have... We'll create here. If you just right click, you can create virtual copy. I'm going to reset this one so you guys can kind of see there's the before where we started and there's the after. So before, after, before, after, and I can keep tweaking this image. What's really cool is I can create another virtual copy of this. Say I'm like, that looks a little dark. Turn up the exposure a tad, maybe bring in some more contrast. And now I can look at all these images. So there is the one that we edited a second ago. Here's the one with more contrast, and here's the original. So, man, just the endless just the ability to do that really quickly and look at something. And again, at this point, I would say walk away from your computer if you're editing, come back to it, and take another look at it. Okay, so really quickly, I'm going to go through this image. I'm not going to retouch the skin. I will show you a couple things on the skin that we can do, but I'm not going to go too deep just for time's sake. I don't want to, you guys are probably already getting bored of my voice. It's Movember, guys. Get excited. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start with the crop this time. I already know that I want to crop this and bring it a little bit around. Oh, just about there. So I'm going to start there. You could start with the crop if you want. I just knew that it was bugging me immediately, but I do like this. This is where I landed. Let me know how you would have cropped this. I would love to hear. Be awesome. Okay, color temperature. I'm going to zoom in on the face. I'm going to look. Oh, man. Detail, 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 detail. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to look, and I'm just going to bring those skin tones neutral like we talked about. Now, this is really flat. She does look really gray here. And again, when we apply that that color from Fujian, when we apply Classic Chrome, we'll go back and adjust. But for time's sake, I just kind of I've done the same thing here. Nothing is blowing out, and nothing is hidden in the shadows. So we're good, or lost in the shadows. We have no clipping either way. And again, this is from the histogram. If you look, you can see where a lot of my information is in the shadow. I don't have a lot of information in the highlights. Here I can, again, I'm going to go back right into basic, change my exposure. Beautiful. Just give it a little bit of punch here. I can change my contrast. Again, Classic Chrome is going to make these adjustments, so don't punch me through my monitor. I know that. I'm just getting it to where I like the photo, and then I'm going to add the Classic Chrome, and then I'm going to go backwards. The highlights, I'm going to bring a little bit more highlight out in her face. I just really want her face to glow here. Okay. So after we do that, I'm going to bring, again, we talked about color. So I'm going to go into this HSL. Again, this is right, HSL color, black and white. I'm going to select this, click her skin tones, and I can go up or down. I'm just going to adjust it. Again, micro adjust. Really easily change those colors. Super cool. I'm not going to mess with sharp. I didn't talk about sharpening in the last one. My images, I don't like to sharpen. 25 is almost too much for me. If you're using a Canon and you're shooting faithful, you might want to sharpen. That's just completely up to you. Okay, so we're going to go into camera calibration. And I'm going to go back down to Classic Chrome. And I can see, I'm going to turn this on. I lost, there you go. So I knew it got a little dark on me. That's okay. I'm going to bring up my exposure a little bit. I want it really punchy. I'm going to just kind of bring those shadows just where I like them. This feels a little dark, but I actually like where it's at, and I'm okay with it. The skin tone is a little bit, there we go. I like that. And I like more of a cinematic look, to be honest. But at that Classic Chrome look, if you have a Fuji camera, it's a good starting base, guys. It just really is. I don't want every image to be Classic Chrome, but I'm just giving you some good examples. Okay. So again, I'm going to make these adjustments in the eyes. So let me go back. If you just, oops. If you go into the eye, and I can bring, there's so much detail here. Can just bring this lightness back into the eye. Again, the other side. Like I said, when I started the video, I'm shooting at such a narrow depth of field that one eye is in focus and the other isn't, but I can just bring a little bit punch back into the eyes. I don't want to make her look like an alien, and I don't want to go too far there. I did adjust a little bit of clarity here just because I missed a tad, to be honest. I'm just being honest with you. Sometimes it happens. It's not perfect, but it's sharp. And I'm just getting a little bit more punch of the eyes. Again, I can go back here and click this tool, and if I didn't like what I did, going back, I can take that back out, which I don't like what happened, so I'm taking it back down. Now I like that, and it looks good. Now, if I was going to sit here and work on skin, I would normally go into Photoshop. Let me just get back into going in, and let's just take some skin, for example. I can come here with this heal tool, and it's really great. You can just drag now, and it'll sample skin. And the more information that you can give Lightroom, meaning the better quality of the file, the better the image is going to have, or the better quality you're going to have from that sample tool. So it's going to pull the best sample possible over. A lot of people say pixels don't matter, and they don't, especially when you're printing. But when you're giving Lightroom a bigger sample of pixels to pull from, it does make a difference in editing. So just a note, if your friend says, "Oh, I don't need all those megapixels," you can say, "Well, you know, I like to edit a lot," or whatever your reasons are. If you want 100 megapixels, have 100 megapixels. It's your life, guy. Okay, so again, you can just pull, and you can see that it pulls a sample from skin. Again, I would do this in Photoshop probably, but if you want it to be a really natural looking portrait, which I do, or a natural headshot, then this is the way to go. There's some hair in here too. Again, I would bring this stuff into, you can actually do it here. So let's just do it because we can. You can drag, let's see how good it is. Lightroom, how good are you? So it's sampled, like, okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna pull that one in. It's not really doing that great of a job right now, but let's see if it fixes it. There we go. I'm okay. That's not perfect. Don't yell at me, but there's no hair there anymore. We are looking good, and I can continue to fix that and work on that. But you get the point. You can pull things out like that there. Again, the pop in the hair is another thing that I did. So I'll continue with that. Kind of bring a highlight into our hair here, and I kind of like it here. Just give it some volume, of course. And bring that sharpness down, and I like it. Quickly done. So there you go. So again, duplicate layer. Create virtual copy. Sorry, it's a duplicate layer. That would be a Photoshop thing, but we're just going to create a virtual copy. And then I can reset this one, start over if I want. But there is the before, and there is the after. Again, before, after. Now looking at the two images, I'm like, okay, do I want her skin tone to be a little bit warmer? Maybe I can just warm it on up with that temperature tool, or bring it back down, or just meet in the middle. So you have all that room. Again, before, after. And I like it. I like where I'm at. You can keep going. I can perfect the skin. You can do a lot of things. Bring some of bring some more light underneath her eyes, so on and so on. The way that you would do that, I got to show you now. I said it. I got to show you. That's how much I like you guys. It's Friday night. I want to get going. I want to party. Just kidding. I have date night with my wife. I'm super excited. Okay, date night. All right, so here we go. You can just kind of pull in there and pull in here. And you're going to see I'm going to exaggerate it big time so you see what I'm working with. You can kind of see how all that light went in her eyes. Obviously, I don't want that much, and I don't want the sharpening. I can just bring in some highlight and then just kind of fade those shadows out. It's really light. It's really subtle. But there you go. So again, before, after, before, after, before, after. I love what I'm getting. Again, with Movember, before, after, after. So awesome. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to help you guys. If there's anything that you're just wondering of, just like, hey, how did you do this? Or, hey, have you found anything that works better as far as plugins or anything that I'm using? Here, I didn't use any plugins. Again, this was more for the XT users or the Fuji users that have those camera profiles built in. Just a really easy way to get some color. All right, guys, you're awesome. Have a good Friday.